The story begins with a haunting silence. A woman named Mallory stands in a house, her voice firm but trembling slightly as she speaks to two small children. Their eyes are wide, their faces pale, but their expressions are serious. They know this is no ordinary instruction. Her tone is strict, urgent.
Under no circumstance are you allowed to take off your blindfold. If you look, you will die. Do you understand?
The children nods, though fear flickers in their eyes. There is no room for softness now. Survival is the only language left. She gathers supplies, food, water, and a cage with two small birds fluttering inside. She takes a deep breath, opens the door, and steps out into a world that has collapsed. She guides the children carefully, their blindfolds tight. They make their way to the riverbank. She places the children inside the boat, then she lowers herself in, pushing away from the shore. The current immediately grabs hold, pulling them forward. Behind the blindfold, her mind drifts back to where it all began. 5 years earlier, the world was normal. Mallory was an artist, living with her sister Jessica. She was pregnant, though the weight of impending motherhood frightened her. Life felt messy but ordinary. That ordinary life ended in a single day. It began with news reports, strange mass suicides spreading across Europe and Russia. No one understood what it was. Once you looked at it, you were gone. Mallory brushed it off, but it was not long before the horror reached their own city. At the hospital, Mallory heard the first screams. Confusion spread like fire. On the streets, chaos had erupted. Cars crashed, people screamed. Then, without warning, they killed themselves. Mallory and Jessica fled in their car, fear choking them. Then it happened. Jessica glanced outside and froze. Tears filled her eyes as her lips whispered something only she could see. Mallory's heart sank. She cried. But Jessica's grip loosened. She turned the steering wheel violently. The car flipped, crashing with a deafening roar. Mallory crawled out, bruised and terrified. Jessica stood in the street, her eyes glassy. Before Mallory could reach her, Jessica stepped in front of an oncoming truck. Mallory screamed, her voice echoing in the chaos, but there was no time to grieve. The invisible terror was all around, and Mallory, desperate and trembling, ran. Through the panic, she stumbled toward a house where a group of survivors had gathered. They pulled her inside, slamming the door shut. The nightmare had begun. Mallory lay on the cold wooden floor. Around her, strangers' voices rose in panic and confusion. The door was bolted, the curtains drawn, the world outside shut out. Mallory struggled to sit up, her voice hoarse.
We were just driving. She would never do that.
The memory burned, and her throat closed around the words. The rules of this new world quickly became clear. Windows had to stay covered. No one could go outside without a blindfold. The creatures, whatever they were, could not be seen. To test survival, Greg proposed an experiment, watching the outside world through security cameras. He believed technology could shield them. The group gathered anxiously around the monitors. Greg sat before the screens, eyes fixed, confident. At first, nothing. The static hum of the monitors, the flicker of light. Then something shifted. Greg's face tightened, his breathing grew strange. His eyes widened, glassy. Then, suddenly, his chair scraped back and he bashed his head against a stone fireplace until he collapsed, lifeless. The room erupted in horror, covering their own eyes, shaken to the core. The truth was undeniable. No screen, no barrier could save them. Days passed in uneasy rhythm. One day, the group heard desperate pounding on the door. Against Douglas's furious protests, Tom opened the door. Mallory's instincts prickled, but Tom argued they couldn't just abandon people. The group split in trust, Douglas warning sharply.
Every contact we have had with the outside has brought us death.
Gary seemed harmless at first. He told stories, thanked them endlessly. But Mallory noticed the way his eyes flickered, the strange drawings he carried. Olympia went into labor first. At the same time, Mallory felt her own contractions begin. The timing was cruel, two babies entering the world at once, in the middle of horror. Olympia gave birth to a girl. Mallory, seconds later, to a boy. But then Gary's mask slipped. While the women were weak, he moved quietly, pulling blankets from windows. Sunlight flooded the room. Olympia, exhausted and terrified, made the fatal mistake of looking, then walked calmly out the window to her death. Mallory screamed, clutching both newborns to her chest. Tom fought Gary desperately, finally managing to kill him, but the damage was done. Mallory sat in the blood-streaked room, her arms wrapped around the two infants, her son and Olympia's daughter. Only 3 remained: Mallory, Tom, and the 2 babies. The days blurred into one another. She named the babies simply boy and girl, but Tom gave them warmth. He played with the children, told them stories, taught them to laugh even in darkness. When Mallory scolded them harshly for small mistakes, still the children grew. They learned the rules as if they were the alphabet. Never take off your blindfold. Never look outside. Tom and Mallory worked as a team, using ropes to guide their way back home. The birds, kept safe in their cage, were their alarm. When the creatures were near, the birds panicked. Then one day, a faint voice crackled over the radio. Someone out there, alive, spoke of a safe community downriver. A sanctuary. A place where children laughed in the open, where no blindfolds were needed. Tom wanted to believe. Mallory didn't. She tightened her walls even more. "It's a trap," she said flatly. "We can't risk it." On a supply run, Tom and Mallory encountered a group of strangers. They weren't blindfolded, and yet they weren't killing themselves either. They were the seers, humans who had embraced the creatures, claiming they were divine. Tom and Mallory realized the danger instantly. They had to protect the children. Mallory hurried the children into hiding, whispering fiercely, "Do not make a sound. Do not take off your blindfolds, no matter what you hear." Boy and girl, small and terrified, nodded. Tom stepped outside to face the intruders. Gunfire erupted. Shouts. Then silence. When she finally emerged, Tom was gone. The house was no longer theirs. Mallory's heart hardened further. There was no choice now but the river. With nothing left behind, Mallory led them out of the ruins of their shelter and toward the river. The journey had begun. The river roared like a beast, pulling the small boat forward with merciless strength. Mallory rowed with every ounce of strength in her arms, the blindfold tight against her skin. Water sprayed into their faces. Ahead, the sound of rushing rapids filled the air. Mallory's heart pounded. She knew this part of the river. Tom had warned her. The rapids were death. Finally, the children sobbed, trembling but alive. For the first time in days, Mallory's guard cracked. She pulled boy and girl into her arms, holding them close. For a moment, she let herself whisper what she had never dared. Morning came, and with it, the end of the river. Somewhere ahead lay the community they had heard about. Mallory tightened the children's blindfolds. One last journey remained. Ahead, she could see faint lights, the signs of human life, the sanctuary they had been searching for. Her heart wavered. Hope and fear battled inside her. Could this truly be safety or another trap? Then at last she heard it. People moving about, laughing, safe. The signs were unmistakable. The first contact with safety in 5 years. A woman stepped forward. Her voice was calm. She took the children gently, smiling. Boy and girl looked up at Mallory, their trust absolute. But for the first time, Mallory allowed herself to hope. She allowed herself to feel again. The sanctuary was more than a place. It was a rebirth, and love could endure. Thanks for staying with me till the end.